everybody, it's Paul from Karis Pen Co, and we're back again with another compare and contrast video. Hopefully you've already looked at the previous one where we looked at our 3-capped rollerball pens, the Galaxy XL, our brand new entry-level capped rollerball pen, against the Render K and the Ink rollerball, where we kind of gave you a more in-depth look at the 3 pens, went over their similarities, went over the differences between them, and just kind of gave you some photos in between that show you a little bit better about each pen, and some close-up shots so you can get an idea on if you've used our pens in the past and you're kind of on the fence with our newer pens that we're coming out with. What are their differences, what are the similarities, and stuff like that. This is just kind of knowledge. We sat down and we were thinking about some of the videos that we did in the past, and we realized that while we've released pens and shown you in the release videos, hey, this is what the pen's all about, it doesn't really give you a good idea unless you have the chance to use them in conjunction with some of our other pens that you may have used in the past. So hopefully this gives you an idea. If you're familiar with our other pens and you've had a chance to use them, you own them, or you've used them at pen shows, or you know somebody that has them, so you've used theirs, where you can kind of go, oh, I'm familiar with the Ink fountain pen. How does that compare with our new Starlilner fountain pen? This will give you a little bit of an idea. So we'll go the whole gamut from external, internal, what they're designed to do, what they're designed not to do, and then price point, just to give you an overview of how each pen kind of stacks up against one another. So we'll start off like we did with the Galaxy XL, the rollerball comparison, with the similarities. And we're only starting there because there are far fewer similarities than there are differences. The pens are quite different when you really get into how they function and how they're designed, and some of those pieces in and of themselves. So the similarities are they're roughly the same size. While the Ink is a larger size fountain pen, larger in diameter than the other two, overall the length of them capped, they're relatively similar. There's probably about an 1/8 of an inch variance where the Ink is larger than the other 2 pens by about an 1/8 of an inch. The Galaxy XL, or the Starlilner XL, and the Fountain K are roughly the same length when capped, so they're right about the same length. And a lot of that has to do with the geometry of the internals and how they function. We could make them longer if we need to, but this is they're kind of compact. Everything fits inside, the nib fits inside the cap, and the converter fits down into the barrel relatively far. There's enough material at the bottom where they don't, kind of poke through. So they're designed kind of around that idea. They use similar, although they're not the same, similar materials in the clips and the screws. We use on these pens stainless steel clips and stainless steel screws, and while they have different fasteners, the type of fastening that they use, they're pretty much very similar. These 3 models are all in aluminum. The Starlilner XL is only available in aluminum, and for now, and while in the future we may branch out and offer different materials, the pen is designed from the ground up around the use of aluminum, specifically because that pen we're considering our entry-level fountain pen. The whole idea behind the reactor pens is that they would be relatively inexpensive, kind of as inexpensive as we could make it, because we felt like we didn't really have that entry-level pen, with the others being priced a little bit more. So these are all the aluminum, the all aluminum variants, and while these are available in heavier metals, these are the all black in every single one. So they're similar in that sense, in that the standard version of each of these is an all aluminum version. They all use Bach nibs. They can all use standard international converter or cartridge. cartridges. So this one can use the long cartridge. They can all use the long cartridges as well. And off the top of my head, that's kind of where we end with the similarities. Most of the rest of the stuff in the video is going to cover the differences in them. And while there are some similarities in the overall aesthetic design, in my opinion, there's more differences than there are similarities. We designed them with different things in mind, and while much of the design process, at least aesthetically, leans to mid-century American design and kind of a motif of like this pen is, kind of has elements of design in the 50s and the 60s, whether that was automotive design or just general architecture. The Starlilner XL goes back a little bit further and more has a design from the 20s and 30s, very stripped down, alludes to kind of homages to the flat top fountain pens that were heavily available in the 20s and 30s. Schaefer flat tops, and Parker had a flat top. Everybody had a flat top design pen that looked quite similar to this pen. If I had a few, you would see that these are very indicative of that design. So this design is also a little bit different. So from the get-go, we have a little bit of different design language externally in the aesthetics, where we were kind of going with this versus where we were going with this. And while there is also a space theme with these pens, and where we were kind of going with the 321 rings and some of the other elements on this pen. We did kind of want to touch on the early days of fountain pen manufacturing with that pen. So that's one of the differences. Another difference specific with this pen and these two pens versus this pen, not necessarily these two pens against each other, but specific to with the Starlilner XL is, if you're familiar with the Fountain K and the ink fountain pen, you'll know that they're kind of a modular system, is kind of what we call these pens, in that while you purchase this, if you purchase this as a fountain pen, you can easily remove the grip section and put in and purchase a rollerball grip section and a refill, which comes with springs, for about $30, and then you can move from a fountain pen to a rollerball if you need to, or you want to. We've kind of made that in both these pens. We did that first with the ink when we initially released the ink. We allowed for the purchase of a rollerball kit, and it was kind of an idea that some people might like that functionality, where you could go back and forth between the two if you were using, if you were in a situation where using a fountain pen really wasn't conducive to your writing. You were, out on the go. The temperature dropped specifically where your ink might freeze, but the rollerball refill, might be a little bit better. Or you run out of ink for your fountain pen and you happen to just have your rollerball grip and a rollerball refill you can throw in there. There's different reasons for it, but it was so easy for us to do that we made that functionality in this pen. It was, it was relatively easy when we were designing and manufacturing them at the time to take that little time and kind of program that, for lack of a better word, into this. There's also a lot of refill compatibility that these have when they're in their rollerball variants. Not a lot in their fountain pen variants. They both use Bach nibs. They do use this uses a number 6. The Fountain K, the ink uses a number 6. Fountain K uses a number 5. And so those are different. However, the number 5 nib in the Fountain K is the exact same number 5 nib that we use in the Starlilner as well. Some other differences. These pens, if you're a poster, you like to post your pens where you put the cap on the back of the barrel. These pens were not designed to post. Because they use threads as their primary method of capping, we did not design them to post, because the metal threads in the cap will scratch the barrel of the pen, especially in the heavier metals. They'll put a line right on there if you put them on if you put the cap on the barrel. And even though they can, they're extremely back heavy and just don't function very well. And so if you're a person that just has to have a pen that posts, these are probably not very good options. And we, deliberately designed them with the threads the way that they were. We wanted them to look this way externally. So doing some kind of posting really wasn't something we were able to do without drastically changing the external taper of this pin to make it start to taper much more forward, and so that it got skinnier and skinnier and skinnier so that you could post it. It would look like a different pen. It would not have the lines that it does. And while we did play around with some of that some of that architecture, it just didn't look right. So when we sat down to design the Starlilner and the Galaxy pens, the reactor pens, we basically took a lot of user feedback, and had a lot of people that were like, I really wish your pens posted. I would own one by now if they did. Or I really don't like the threads because I'm a high gripper and I end up having to grip on the threads or the step. So there was a lot of feedback that we received where we identified that we were lacking in a capped pen. And so when we sat down to design the reactor series itself, we made the decision from the get-go to basically implement some of those elements into this pen. So right off the start, we wanted to figure out a way that we could use slip cap technology. And with that, we sourced O-rings that we install into the pen to allow for a slip cap closure system. So while it does double duty, basically holds the cap in place, but it also seals the grip section, so we're maintaining the airtight seal. Same as these seal with the threads because the threads do lock up at the end. They provide a really nice seal on those. Same with this. There's no threads, no visible fasteners on the pen itself when the cap is off. So you have the opportunity to, if you grip farther back on the section, it's nearly seamless where it does thread into the barrel, so it doesn't feel weird. You don't even notice it. The seam is so small, and it does post. It's meant to post, so it posts securely. It's not going anywhere. We've had some feedback that people said it doesn't post securely. Well, I guarantee you that if you put it on there, you can hear when I take it off, it's popping off of there. So it does post on there very securely. So you can post it on there. It feels nice in the hand with it posted, adds a little bit of length to the pen overall, posts deep, posts just about a little over 2 inches, maybe about 2.5 inches of barrel are posted into the cap. So you're left with a really clean looking, very nice, extremely comfortable, well-balanced posted pen. So that was the kind of the technology in this pen. It does not allow you to use the depth of the bore is specific to the length of the Schmidt K5 converter. So it does eliminate the ability to use a cartridge or a refill of any kind and kind of switch to a rollerball. You definitely have to do modification on the refills if you were to try to use, like, take a grip section from a reactor, put it on here with a refill, with a rollerball or ballpoint refill. You'd have to do some refill hacking to be able to make that fit, because this is drilled very specific. The depth and the inner diameter is very specific to the K5 converter or a standard international converter. This one doesn't have one in there right now. But it will fit the converter, it will fit a long cartridge, it will fit the short cartridge. So there's kind of the idea behind the pins, the similarities and differences. The last difference is kind of the big one one of the big ones. I mean, the difference is the slip cap and the posting are the two main differences, or the two main things that we were really honed in on. And the third one, that when we really sat down, we had picked three different things that we were going to try to implement with these pins, and that was the price point. We really wanted to find an entry level, what we could do as an entry level for the company, where it's a fully machined pin. We're not forming or pressing aluminum for these. This is the same bar stock that we make these pins out of. This pin is made out of. So it's the same quality, it's the same processes. We just wanted to come in, eliminate some functionality, eliminate some things that cost money, so that we could offer this as cheaply, as inexpensively as possible, but maintain the quality. So the prices on these pins, the ink fountain pen starts at $100 and goes up from there all the way up to, about, I think with a gold nib, the copper version is about $300. So there is that large variance depending on the nib type and the material. You can kind of get any kind of customization anywhere between $100 and $300. The Fountain K starts at $80 and all aluminum with a polished steel nib, and then it goes up to, I think, around $200 with copper, with, or a little over $200, the copper version with a gold nib. So there's a big variance from the all aluminum to the copper with the gold nib. And then because this is only available in aluminum, the base price on this, basically, without change, the only way that you're going to change the price point on this is if you get a titanium or gold nib. The price on this with a polished steel nib is $55, so it's $25 cheaper than the Fountain K, so considerably less expensive. And then it's an extra, I believe, $40 with the titanium upgrade, so you're still under $100 with the titanium nib on this pen. And then gold is a $90, I believe, a $90 upgrade on this pen. So you're at like $140, $145 if you use a coupon code and you're smart and you get a coupon code. It's a decent amount of savings you can get. We really feel like we hit the mark what we were going for. We were trying to get as close to $50 as possible with this pen, and we're right there. So now you guys have kind of seen the similarities and the differences between these pens. If you'd like to see us kind of how our pens stack up to some other fountain pens on the market, you leave comments down below. If we're able to do an easy video where we kind of show our pens versus some other pens that you might be familiar with, we may do that in the future. And then we are also going to be doing one more compare and contrast video. The next one that we'll put out is going to be the Decograph fountain pen versus the new Vertex fountain pen. So give you guys more of an idea about that. But really wanted to give you an idea about these three pens. Hopefully this gives you more clarity about what they can do, what they can't do, how they kind of function with, against one another, and just gives you a better idea, if you haven't had the chance to use any of them, of where we're at on these pens. So we'll look forward to talking to you next time with the Decograph and the Vertex. And like I said, comment below or send me an email if you have any questions or concerns, but I'll talk to you next time.